Hi there, I'm the laziest writer, and recently I've noticed something of an emphasis on relaxing and low-intensity games being reviewed or promoted on social media, as well as in trailers and advertising. I guess we all need a bit of that right now. Perhaps the primary example of this is Unpacking, a game where you slowly drag items out of boxes and think about where they should go in your new room, again and again as a years-long story starts to unfold. Now, as you know, this video isn't about that game, and that's because I didn't finish it, thanks to the fact that it's the most stressful thing that I have ever played. Instead of a means of expressing yourself through decorating rooms however you please, alongside figuring out the details of the wider narrative, I found it to basically be an incredibly slow lateral thinking exercise that I drew absolutely nothing but anxiety from. That's clearly not an objective review of the game, even if such thing was possible, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't play Unpacking, but basically that I found myself thinking that this wave of slow-paced indie games wasn't going to be for me. But then I booted up 2021 title The Gunk, and, well... The Gunk is a game in which you walk around and slurp up the eponymous substance to save a newly discovered planet from dying a slow and dreadful death. It's a pretty heavy-handed metaphor for the environmental crisis, but I'd say that it's also rather effective, given that it offers the genuine ability to invest in its characters, story, and environments, unlike some of the less successful attempts to use narrative media to warn people of our impending doom. You see, The Gunk features a likeable cast of characters, and isn't about humans on Earth filling the same roles we see in real life. As such, it simultaneously adheres to the real-world events and attitudes surrounding climate change, whilst also feeling like its own story, allowing us to focus on the relationships between characters, or the mystery of the ancient alien civilization, instead of just feeling like an irritating carbon copy of everything and everyone on Earth, which we don't need because we can just read the news, or look out a window, and see it all happening for real. I don't know if that makes sense, I've kind of lost my direction here.
What's my motivation?
Luckily, losing your direction isn't as much of a problem for players of the Gunk as it is for me when I'm making my videos, which is strange because the game has no HUD or compass or really anything to point you to where you're meant to be going. Instead, they rely upon the fact that it's easy to know where to go, as it's basically just forwards the entire time. This allows the game to cultivate a relaxed environment and atmosphere, which is almost ungamified, or whatever the real word is for that, whilst also guiding you along a path so that you don't get lost or stuck with no idea of what to do or where to go next. Puzzles are posed through the simple existence of obstacles, and are straightforward enough to be bypassed with relative ease thanks to the fact that they usually just require you to hoover something up and, on occasion, to then put it somewhere else. And there aren't any real enemies or arenas until halfway through the game, or perhaps even further, so you're left to find your own way without dying or becoming disoriented until you have a much firmer grasp on the game and how it works, and have settled into an understanding of its calming ambiance and allegorical leanings, feeling much more at home in the vivid environment of the gunk-free areas of the planet. But despite the early chapter's vibrant colour palette, the darker areas that you descend into as you dig deeper into the game make it difficult at times to see where the gunk, the bizarre corrupting matter that is killing the fictional planet, actually resides. And seeing as you have to get rid of it all to progress through certain areas, this can artificially extend the game through frustrating obstacles alone, not actually adding anything other than a couple of areas where you haven't been taught how to deal with the problem, because they didn't consider that it might exist. And I get that this probably won't be a problem for a lot of people, but it's issues like these where there are so many easy fixes and the player hasn't actually done anything wrong that can drain all of the fun out of a game. Indeed, by the time I realised that there was still a tiny bit of gunk here that I hadn't hoovered up, I mostly just wanted to be done with the gunk, both the substance and the game. That said, I felt that the title pulled me back around to its side with the unassuming competency of its final boss fight and ending, as well as the Mass Effect 3 dream sequence style venture to the almost totally lifeless sections of the planet where the game is set. Sure, it's always annoying to trudge slowly through a monotonous landscape with no choice but to sluggishly press on, but I personally felt that seeing the scale of the destruction both added a little variety to the game's environments and lent a little more legitimacy to the force that threatens to annihilate all life on the planet, as I could finally see what was really going to happen to the world that I'd come to know, rather than just again encountering the vague and empty threat of some brown goo that just has to be sucked up to somehow save the world. Overall, I wouldn't expect anyone to rate this game much higher than a 7 out of 10, but it's short enough that it's well worth a playthrough, and interesting enough that I might have to reconsider my stance on these short, relaxing and unchallenging games that I seem to be seeing everywhere. Thanks so much for watching. I'm really grateful for everyone who takes the time to watch my videos, and if you've made it this far, then that definitely includes you. If you had anything that you wanted to say about this video, I read and do my best to reply to every comment. And if you enjoyed the video, I'll direct you to the like button and maybe to my channel, where you can find more of the same. Anyway, that's one very messy outro out of the way, and hopefully I'll see you next time.